the offer could just be reneged totally. Like, that's it. I'm sick of you going back and forth all the time. So I feel like I'll maybe just kind of look at other options, kind of just, I don't know, try and be more honest with this person, but just kind of figure out what I want to do possibly without necessarily having to bring up every little thing and have, it become a big deal. And if I do decide to do something else, then just tell him as soon as possible. Yes.
So as you're looking at these options, you're also thinking about having to tell him this.
Yeah, definitely being. Yeah, it's just difficult because I don't think he understands the reasons why I don't want to be here. So I guess maybe I could try and communicate more clearly to him my hesitations or what exactly it is that I feel wouldn't be as optimal for me here, I guess.
So you're thinking about trying to talk to him about some of this then, and so that he would understand why it's not good for you.
Right. Again, try and talk to him again about it. I definitely try to. But yeah, I guess I need to just put it in a way that won't put him on the defensive about it, I guess. So, yeah.
Okay. So Suzanne, tell me, what was it like for you going through this process with Joyce?
It was interesting, and I felt like this was maybe just something that was kind of, I hadn't really thought about much, so I feel like I was kind of just thinking about it for the first time.
I appreciate you're willing to do that.
No, but I felt like maybe it was difficult for you because it wasn't something I was really excited about, that I could just kind of go on and on and, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, but it really made me kind of, stop, and I was really listening to what you were saying because I hadn't thought about it. And so hearing you kind of say what I had been saying, it just made me kind of try and focus more on the issue. So at the same time, I was really trying to, take it in different directions. And it was, I felt like a little bit like I was just grasping at straws.
Grasping at straws sitting here, or grasping at straws in your situation in life?
Sort of in my situation. I mean, I also was very aware that this is such a setting, not like just talking to my friend on the phone or something.
Right. I appreciate your willingness to do that.
Oh, yeah. But I definitely, and I guess I'm also used to having advice given to me. So
yes,
I think I was looking for that almost a little bit.
Were you feeling a pull from her to give her advice?
I don't know if it was from her or from myself, but she's about the same age as my son.
I see.
And I wanted to, in some way, at least give her options, not say you should do this or this, but just give a list of options or have you thought about. And so I had difficulty restraining myself.
Now, if you have a good listening session, I suppose the person in Suzanne's role could say, well, if you have any advice you've been holding back on me, you could give it now because the session's over. But I think that there's a whole lot to be gained, without the advice. And did you feel that anything happened for you while you were sitting here?
I really did. I really was a little bit more clear on what I perhaps could do besides just being kind of like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to deal with it yet. I was like, well, maybe I could think about what else might materialize or just being more open and whatever. And I was almost forced to have to do that because I felt like there was sort of this like wall there a little bit, I guess just because I'm used to being in situations where it's such a like, oh yeah, I know what you mean exactly, it's just like that sort of thing. So this was kind of good. It kind of forced me to just think on my own about where I might
Did
go
you
with
feel
that.
that she was, you used the wall and stuff, as if she was somehow less caring about you because she didn't give you advice?
I mean, actually, I felt more. I was also wrapped up in what I was saying that I wasn't even really, not noticing it, but it was more like I was listening to the words and just thinking so wrapped up in that I wasn't like, feeling really one way or the other.
Right. Okay. So she didn't draw your attention away from yourself, then, did she? She kept you focused in on you. Well, Matt, what did you notice going back and forth? What kind of
Well, I thought
observations?
the dialogue was I thought you did a good job, except for that one time.
Yeah,
I think you were even aware of
It was a
it.
test.
I
You
had
were
been
even aware of
resisting
that.
it. No, I knew what I was doing. So.
Interestingly, I was picking up, I'm very empathetic,
Uh-huh,
and I was picking up a lot of her, I could feel her
Uh-huh.
angst and so on.
Uh-huh. Can you describe some of the angst that you were feeling and stuff?
I felt on a spiritual level that divine spirit was saying, trust in me. I felt that you have trusted in so many other people and their advice that maybe this situation was your chance to really find out for yourself what leadings you might get. And that's what I was just sensing on an intuitive level.
Yeah, I was having that same kind of a feeling too of if I were to do it in a reflective listening mode, just saying, yeah, it's really hard when you don't know sure what you want. It's a lot easier to kind of go with the whatever any people are suggesting, huh? And when you're not really sure what you really want, then you do these other people's things, but you don't really know if that's so good. But then as you start thinking about it and you realize it's not so good, it sort of starts to force you in to think what you really want. And then you start getting a little clearer about what you really want. And then when you're clear about what you really want, it's a lot easier to tell that other person in a very clear and loving way where you stand. And if you could trust that somehow you're taking a chance to trust, aren't you? That if you say where you're at, it'll work out somehow. Because it's really in a bind. We're really caught in a prison when we don't really know what we want, and all these other people around us know what they want, and they're trying to get us to do their thing, and then we get caught up in it, and it's only through the feeling of uncomfortableness that we start coming to our senses. And then we have to face the fact that we don't know what we want. And then, what is it we do want? And when we know, if we can only know, then we can step out of that. And that's kind of like what you're saying. More succinctly, you said it in a spiritual way, and I was just, in terms of the reflective listening, that's how I would have reflected back. There was you might say a transpersonal or a spiritual or a universal conundrum that a person was dealing with beyond the mother-in-law, the boyfriend, and so on, is that when we're not clear about us, we can get pushed around by forces. We hate to make a decision because we take a risk, but the price of not taking the risk is we lose our life.
I mean, right now that makes me think too that, I mean, this for me is the first kind of unstructured time I've had. I've always been in school and done this and you do this and you do this, and now I'm like, whoa, now what do I do, you know?
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
That's an exciting time and a scary time, huh? Yeah. And just like with this situation, it was kind of scary because she wasn't giving you an advice, but it was kind of exciting because then you got to look inside.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just weird having an audience too, I guess.
Uh-huh. Well, part of the audience too, the value of the audience is it makes us all very aware of the process. And that's what we want to be aware. Every one of us wants to have the Suzanne part who goes through the experience of seeing what good listening does for us and appreciates what it's like to want advice and not get it. Because then when we're in the Joyce role, we can remember what it's like to feel like the Suzanne and be kind and compassionate in our not giving advice and warm in our listening and not make it seem too remote. Do I feel like I'm a million miles away or not caring?
That was one thing. It's like I could feel her pain, and I really wanted to just reach out and touch her, but I wasn't sure if that would be real appropriate. Actually, I just wanted to hug her. Say, "Let me cry. It's okay." You know?
Right. Well, we're not into therapy management here, so we're not dealing with those kinds of questions. And also then the Matt role that's observing all of this and is thinking. You know, and he's thinking at a spirit level, oh, she's being called into her own. She's being called, and her own higher self is calling to her in this situation. This is the beauty of the situation, and it's why, as the observer part speaks to the listening part, why you're not giving advice right now, because you would be defeating how spirit is using this situation to bring her to consciousness. And you would cut off spirit if you gave her advice.
Mm.
So rather than helping her feel better, you help her get better.
Mhm.
That make sense?
Yeah, it's